You're listening to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast with your host, Cameron Manning. We bring you the industry experts each episode who will help you man up on your real estate career. I'm your host, Cameron Manning. I am looking forward to bringing you guys another awesome interview today. At the end of the day, our goal is to bring you the exciting people that will help you guys just level up or man up in your real estate career. Whether you're an investor, you're a realtor, mortgage professional, whoever you are, we are bringing you the people who are going to help you do that. And today I am super excited to bring you an awesome speaker today. This is somebody who I've gotten to know now over the last, couple of months here on the Clubhouse app, which you guys have heard, me talk about that app in previous episodes. It has definitely been a game changer in 2021 for connecting with people who are really interesting out there. Now, this gentleman has a very different background than a lot of the people we've brought on. He's been 24 years in the music industry. He is not only just a singer-songwriter rapper himself, he is also a producer, but he's turned his attention now to another career, just showing the entrepreneurial breadth that this guy can do. He is now a full-time realtor. He's an investor himself, and I am just very honored to have him here. Bromley, better known as the stage name Apathy. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Killer Cam, what up, brother?
I am good, dude. I am super excited to have you on here. We have been kind of tuning it up on Clubhouse now for a couple of months, getting to know each other. We chatted offline, and I just find you're just such a great down-to-earth guy. And you got such an interesting story that I'm excited to help kind of spread the word of who App is, and especially from the real estate side of things. Because this is still a somewhat new venture for you. You've been in it a couple of years now, right? 3 years, I think?
3 years, yep.
Awesome, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we dive too deep into the real estate side of things, for you guys who don't know App, I want to take it back a little bit, because you do have quite the career as a hip-hop artist, as a rapper yourself, and just you've really dove into that, and you're still actively doing that. So I want to take it back. Tell us who App is. Take us through the story, man.
Sure, man. I was born to two teenage parents in a very economically destitute part of Connecticut, which was very blue collar. It was based on a lot of mills, like textile mills, that closed down. So that area, it had no infrastructure. It had no money, low education, not a lot for people there. So that's what I was born into. And luckily, my parents were both very smart people, but, they weren't the type to teach financial responsibility or financial education, because they didn't have any. And I grew up loving hip hop, man. I remember, my dad was 18 when he had me, and my mother was 17 when she had me. And I remember back in 1985, we had a college radio station, and we lived in this tiny little apartment. And I remember hearing Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, The Show. And I heard these guys, and if you know that song, or if you go reference it after this interview, it sounds like a live performance. And in my head, because I'm 5 years old or 6 years old, my only frame of reference to a live performance was seeing my uncle's band at his high school at the time. So in my head, I think these guys are rapping and doing this song at my uncle's high school down the street. So I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And I heard this song and I fell in love with it. So there was a DJ named Doc Nine up here in Connecticut who would play those songs, and my father would help me record them. And he would help me record all of these radio shows. And it was just a blast. And he was like the greatest guy, man. My father was a beautiful human being. He was awesome. He was a really cool guy. And I got into hip hop, and I got obsessed into hip hop. My uncle used to break dance. My uncle had all these Def Jam 45s, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, all of this stuff. And I grew up loving hip hop and being obsessed with it. And so, fast forward to me being in elementary school and junior high, I lived in my Walkman. You know what I'm saying? I lived for these tapes and these cassette tapes. So when I was on my way to school, I'd be listening to Big Daddy Kane and Rakim and EPMD. And I wouldn't just listen to the music like people do. I would pretend I was them and fantasize that I was on the stage saying these words.
Right.
And every day it became like a meditation to me. I would zone out and imagine myself on the stage and picture what I would do and things I would say to impress people. And I'm confident that I manifested my reality. I think that I loved it so much and wanted it so bad that I manifested my reality of making this come to fruition. So, I started getting into music when I was a teenager. I started a college radio show like at 14 years old in 1993, which is a fantastic time to be doing, college radio. It was really cool.
Totally.
Yeah, man, it was a dope. Nas, Wu-Tang Clan, all of these different records coming out. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, all of these fantastic things happening in the 90s. And
it was kind of really the emergence, like, it started earlier, but things were really ramping up on the hip hop track by then, right?
Right, absolutely, man. That was like, that's when hip hop hit its stride.
Yeah,
it was like the best time. So then I decided that I wanted to do it. I was writing raps at that time, but and then I met some of my people from this local crew called the Demigods. I was recording demos, and we were just doing stuff that other people weren't doing. We had logos, we had our own vibe, our own style. And that was that, man. And then just to make a long story short, I continued to do independent music. I started making a real buzz independently. We put out our own vinyls, and then I got signed to Atlantic Records around 2003 or 2004. And I didn't succeed with the major label route because they wanted me to sell out and do stuff that I wasn't comfortable with or down to do. So I continued to put out independent music, and kind of the doors that opened up for me through the major label, just by virtue of being signed to a major, was a really good look.
People noticed you then, right?
Right. It was like, oh shit, Apathy got signed to Atlantic Records. That's crazy. So I continued doing music, touring all over the world, and at that point, my partner Self and I, and this is fast forwarding very far. This is fast forwarding to like 4 or 5 years ago. My partner Self and I were talking about investments and all of this stuff, and we kept talking about doing real estate as an investment, saying that the stocks are too tumultuous, stock market is too crazy, that real estate makes sense, trying to figure out how to amass a real estate portfolio, and just learning. And the way we learn music was from the molecular level. We learned distribution routes, we learned manufacturing, we learned everything. That's what made us run a successful independent label. So we said, well, shit, my partner's my best friend. He's the best man in my wedding. He's the godfather to my kids. He's my best friend. We talk every day. We've been best friends for 24, 25 years. We don't argue. Like, we're best friends. We're brothers. So we realized that one of us was going to have to get into this real estate realm if we were going to do these investments. We're like, yo, one of us have to know what we're doing. We don't want to hire somebody or leave it to somebody. We personally are the type where so then I was like,
you want to hold that control, right?
Right. And just kind of know the behind the scenes. And that's our personality. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go through real estate class. And so I started it. And then the other thing too, is that when my wife and I were looking at houses, I was really unhappy with the way the realtors I was dealing with here in Connecticut. There was a lot of realtors that I didn't love the way they operated. They could have done things a lot better, especially in hindsight now that I know what I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Given the amount of sales that I've done, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this. Yeah. So those things kind of propelled me to get into this industry. And then as soon as I got into this industry, I fell in love with it.
Awesome. No, that's incredible. I mean, so you've had a long run, 24 years in the music industry, and you've made waves out there. You've got tons of albums out there. You're producing music yourself. And in fact, you actually just released another new album here recently, When the River Meets the Sea, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Take us through that. We'll dive into the real estate in a second, but take us through that. Like, you're still actively involved. So you're kind of, you're a mother, a husband and a father now. You're still doing hip hop, and you've got real estate going on. but you've got that love, you're the passion that you're putting into everything now. But you just released the new album. What's the new album about? Tell us a little bit about what inspired it. I've heard the story. We had a big Clubhouse launch. It was awesome. But I think from the listeners, it would be really incredible to hear more about it.
Right. The album was in 2010, my wife and I have 24 years of history. No, yeah, 24 years of history too. Right around 24, 25 years of history. My wife and I dated. We were in love with each other back in the day. We were young kids. We dated for 5.5 years back in the day, but we were young kids and we realized that, we still had to see the world. So we broke up. We went out, saw the world. She moved away. She moved to Philadelphia. Then we got back together and we stayed separated for like seven years or something like that. Then we got back together in 2010. And we decided, we're going to do this. We've known each other the longest. We love each other. So right when she got back with me, my father was dying of cancer. And I started, I've always had a history of anxiety, panic disorder, derealization, agoraphobia, all of these crazy things that I've had to deal with. That's been a roller coaster. Sometimes it goes away for like 7 years, 6 years. Sometimes it comes back. Around the time when my father died, no surprise, or was dying, I got really bad anxiety. So my wife moves back from Philadelphia to Connecticut to be with me, and I like fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel horrible that she had to deal with all that because like I just mentally come apart. Like so I can't leave anywhere. Like I had to go to therapy. I can't go out because I have agoraphobia and all this horrible stuff. Then my father starts getting a lot worse, right? And I'm feeling crappy physically, and I assume it's because of the stress of my father dying, and I'm sitting here watching my dad slowly die of this gnarly cancer. So then my dad passes January of 2012, and 3 days later I wind up in the hospital with pancreatitis necrosis, and I almost died. I came like that close to dying. I was in critical condition for like a week and a half. I was in the hospital for another 2.5 weeks, just recuperating and just really messed up. And it was horrible, man. And I missed my father's funeral because I was in the hospital. And me and my father were close like this. I don't have siblings. It was just me and my dad were mad close. Yeah. So it just destroyed me. And then my wife and I got married 2014. We had my daughter in 2015. Being a father totally restructured and rebuilt my brain. Like it was night and day. You know what I mean? Like
now you're responsible for more than just yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just her whole experience and everything about being, especially a little girl, because being a rapper and being the kind of guy that I was. It gave me a new respect for women and really, gave me a cue point of empathy for women that I never had before. And so being that I have my daughter and then my son was born, and it was just all these incredible things happened in my life. And I just felt like so much happened from 2010 till present day. So I started working on, and I just had to get it out. Like, especially my father passing, it was cathartic for me. I couldn't get rid of these thoughts, the good and the bad. So I had to get it out. And so I started working on this album. And originally the album was called Scrimshaw because I'm from New England. I have a fascination. I'm totally enamored with all things nautical and ocean, New England, sea life. And I started this album called Scrimshaw. And Scrimshaw is when they used to take ivory from whales and carve art into it and then stain it with ink. So it's really cool.
Wow. Okay.
But I realized that no one knows what the fuck that is.
No, honestly, I didn't know. It sounds cool, but I wouldn't have known it.
So I'm like, people are going to think that's the name of like a town or something. So I scrapped that name. I kept working on the album. Now I worked on the album from the first song I did was called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And I did that before my daughter was born. So I did that like 6.5 years ago. And I just kept adding songs and adding songs. And it was, that album was like 6 years in the making. And it's just a whole bunch of music. And then my friend who's Canadian from the West Coast of Canada, Snack the Ripper, his father passed away. He got married. He had kids. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
and he got on this song with me called Dream Sequence.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of came together. And that's what the album is about too. The album is about where the river meets the sea. Your life is a stream of consciousness. Your life is a river that, you know, runs through and passes until you get to the vast expanse of the infinite, which, you know, is a metaphor for the ocean.
Yeah.
Or the ocean's a metaphor for that, rather, the sea. And the other cool thing too is right out my window right here is where the Thames River meets the Long Island Sound. So I literally live right here where the river meets the sea.
Right, and where a lot of our listeners are, we've got the Fraser River going into the Pacific Ocean too. So it's pretty incredible when you see that.
Right, yeah. So that was the whole thing, man. I also wanted to keep that theme going, the metaphysical theme of life and death and all of that. And so that's why I did that. You'll hear like row, row, row your boat throughout the album. Yeah. And
I there was something that I'm like, something sounds familiar to it. So I have to listen back to that part now.
Right. Yeah. And you know, the row, row, row your boat, that song is meant to be a deep thing. That's about life, you know? And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tie that all together and give the listener that frame of reference. Because a lot of people I feel can relate to it. You know, it's we all go through a lot of pain in this human experience.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, I've listened to the album now probably 3 or 4 times all the way through now, right? You know, obviously it's been a killer album. Mad respect. And for a lot of people, you haven't been mainstream necessarily, but you've been out there. And to be honest, like I hadn't heard of you until I met you on Clubhouse. And like I've fallen in love with the music. I'm listening to it every day. You've got a fan in me. But it's just incredible because, you know, you can go through life, you not meet someone, and then next thing you know, you meet someone in a random app and they become very impactful. Like we chat nearly every single day now. And it's incredible. And getting to know you through your songs has been also a very, you know, impactful, because when you go on Clubhouse, I'm like, I got a deeper understanding of this guy by listening to his music, which has been incredible. And so kind of going from there, so you've been producing your own music now for many, many years. Your 24-year career is incredible. You've traveled the world. I mean, you're mentioning cities in Canada that most people don't even know when we're chatting. So I know you've been out on the tour, right? And so you've built up this career and you understand yourself on how to market yourself, how to produce and distribute and do all of that. And that directly does relate a lot of ways back into real estate, because there's a lot of the same stuff about promoting yourself and marketing yourself. So you started talking about it where you've got your business partner and your best friend. You guys decide to get into real estate and start building yourself some investments, because at the end of the day, it's all about, you know, I'm an investor myself. It's all about that multiple streams of income. You've got coming in from the music, but now you can build that additional stream, whether it's, I think you guys were looking to flip some properties.
Not necessarily. The thing too is we're very patient. We're chess players. You know what I mean? Like we're all about strategy. We haven't bought anything yet. We haven't done anything yet. I've been in this 3 years and I kind of had a baptism by fire. I've had some pretty crazy mentors and really hardcore teachers. And now with Clubhouse opening up, I'm getting even more, and I'm very patient and I enjoy the process of not knowing and then learning. I enjoy being at a space. I find comfort in a space where I'm like, it's okay to be new. And it's okay to be at a point where you don't really know what you're doing. And there's that uncomfortable feeling. You know what I'm saying? I was in David Hill's room, and I love David Hill's rooms. He does great too. And I heard where is it? Here we go. It was Chris Voss talking. And he said, awkwardness is an indicator of accelerated learning. And that struck me, because that's like saying, like, you know, you feel awkward. You feel like you don't know what you're doing, but that's your brain just going, shit, I'm learning and trying to figure this out. because it's not comfortable for me. When you're comfortable, you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything great. You know what I'm saying? You're not altering things. You're not growing. The comfortability is a sign of stagnation almost. You know, I mean, it's good to be chill. It's 100%. Good to relax, but comfortability is a sign of stagnation. So at this point, me trying to figure out, bringing it back to your question, me trying to figure out what we're doing, I'm trying to learn the best moves for us going forward, whether we want to do, 30 plus door apartment buildings or buy a trailer park and rent them out, or have the trailers and rent those trailers out, or do storage unit facilities. We're just trying to figure out the best course of action, and we're not in a mega rush. I think it's just great knowing that I'm 42 years old now. I wish I started when I was 21. I wish I started doing real estate back then. But I'm 42. I still feel like, it's a good time to start. And I don't try to act like things are going to pop overnight. Yeah. Here's the thing, what I learned about with real estate. When I started with music, I spent a lot of time getting better. And I also realized that things didn't translate to monetary success for a long time. And I watched people come and go, because I'd be sitting there slow and steady wins the race. I'm sitting here like the tortoise in the hare, and I'm going and I'm going and I'm going. Yeah. And other people are like trying to go fast, but then they fall off because they're like, I can't do it anymore. I'm not making enough money, or I'm not blowing up. Well, I'm just going and going and going. And finally, I won the race. I got to a point where I made a lot of money. And I'm the same way in real estate. Like, I'm going to be a realtor for the rest of my life until I retire. You know what I mean? And even when I retire, I'm going to be dabbling. This is indelible. This is here to stay. This isn't me trying something out. It's just a matter of nothing can stop me now. It's a matter of me just learning all the details and fine tuning and figuring out what I'm doing. But I'm here and I'm on the course, and it's like I'm locked onto a railroad track. You know what I mean? So, absolutely. So just trying to find out the best moves for me and my partner is what we're doing.
No, that's awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what you said. People are always so worried that they didn't get in back in the day that they don't think they can now, right? And there's that saying that's out there, the best time to buy real estate was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. And it's been that same quote for the last 50 years, you know what I mean? Or 60 years or whatever. So people are always worried about what they didn't do, that it halts them from taking action now. You know what I mean? And you're like, hey, there's still opportunity for me to get in now or next year. There's always going to be opportunity in the real estate game. It's just once you pick your strategy, you jump in and you go, right? That's huge. Now I want to take it back to the realtor career a little bit, because one thing that stuck out in my head the first time that you and I joined the same room, we hadn't met each other before. We were talking, I think, to a bunch of new agents or something like that. And you mentioned that your first year was rough until you found somebody to help you out. So I want you to expand on that, because I think that's key for a lot of people in the industry, that they need to find that person that can help mentor them, right? It's tough to go it on your own when you don't know anything. So I want you to expand a bit on that, because, I heard that, I'm like, that is great advice. Always, like, you come in, you're absorbing a lot, but you drop a lot of bombs too. So kind of take us through that first year for you.
So my first year, I was starting with a team, and I was hanging out with a team that didn't end up being the right fit for me. The team leader was brilliant. He was very smart with his marketing, and I respect him in that aspect tremendously, but he just wasn't the right fit for me for what I want to do and where I want to go. So I didn't end up joining with them when I got my license. And that's okay too. I think it's critical for new agents to know they got to find their right fit. Right. So, and then I had a friend from high school, and she's like, yo, I'm over at Berkshire Hathaway and I'm killing it. And she was very meticulous. She's like a machine. She's incredibly successful. She's an incredible realtor, unbelievable. But her teaching style didn't resonate with me. I didn't absorb it. And it wasn't hardcore enough, because I'm a kid who grew up with ADD, and I came from the music industry where things are very harsh. And she was just very chill, to the point, and very knowledgeable, but it wasn't what I needed. Then I joined a guy who was an older guy. He's in his 60s, early 60s, and he was like a drill sergeant. He was very tough on us. It was a lot of tough love. He's an older Scottish guy who came here and really made his mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He came from nothing in Scotland and came here and just started doing a whole bunch of different businesses until he found real estate, and then he killed it in real estate. But he was very, very tough. So it's like if you fucked up, you knew you're getting, metaphorically, you were getting your knuckles wrapped with a ruler.
Yeah,
You
right.
knew not to mess up. So with that hanging over my head and that stress hanging over my head, and also he would pay for leads. So we get a tremendous amount of leads, more leads than we could handle. So we were taught, it was like a baptism by fire. Like I said, when I joined that team, it was like 0 to 100. Like it was just like, shoo, I was off to the races. I was closing tons of stuff. I was doing way more showings in a year than an average agent does in 5 years. It was unbelievable. So I learned a lot in that first year. That accountability and having that, having that gun to your head of being nervous that somebody's going to freak out on you and spaz on you if you don't do things the right way made all the difference in the world. And I enjoyed that I had that. I appreciate that I had that. You know what I mean?
And for you, it was the determining factor on the success level, right? If you didn't have that and you kept going the route, might have been a different story. Who knows, right?
Right. And some aspects of that team, it wasn't all the right fit for me either, and it wasn't certain things working out for me. But I value, like I said, I value that time so much, and it's so important for me. I got so much love for that guy who was like that. But now I know that I have a different, and he knew that too. He's the one who sat me down and said, "App, this isn't for you, man. You're meant to do something else and vibrate on another frequency." You know what I mean? And he was right. He was 100% right. And, he could tell, I could tell we were getting to that point, but I sold a tremendous amount of real estate, and I did fantastic that first,
awesome.
13, 14 months. So that was a critical step, but mentorship and somebody holding you accountable is a critical thing. Accountability. And it's like you have to make sure it's almost like if you have like a partner, a wife or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you're like, "Hey, don't let me eat any more ice cream at night." And they're like, "Okay, I'll do it." But then at night, you're like, "How about just this one?" And they're like, "Okay." No, you have to have somebody like, whap, get that fucking ice cream out of your head. That's what you need. You need that. You need 100%. Somebody to really, really hold you accountable and be tough about it.
For sure. I totally agree with that. Obviously I've been working with my mentor now for 7.5, getting close to 8 years now. And there's a reason. It's because she holds me accountable. And every year the goal has to get bigger. That goalpost moves further, which pushes me further. Right?
And no matter how successful you are, you still need mentorship and you still need training. Right?
100%. I totally agree with that. And one thing too is like, because when I started off, I wasn't in a great place myself financially. I had a situation that left me, really under the gun rate. And the one thing she always said to me, always stood out. She's like, "You got money problems?" I'm like, yeah, I do. She's like, "Great, pick up the phone." Right? It's really that simple. Like if you're in that situation, you just got to work hard. Just work hard and you can get yourself. But there was that level, exactly, that mentorship and accountability. And it sounds like my mentor's the same way. It's not any coddling. It's like, "Great, pick up the phone, go do a deal."
Right.
Simple.
Right. I don't respect people anymore who aren't like that. I'm not going to say I don't. That's too much of a blanket statement. Right. I'm going to say it doesn't resonate with me as much if someone doesn't have that intensity and have that strict feeling. You know what I'm saying? I need somebody who is going to, punk me in a good way, be a sensei to me, not just somebody who's like, "Hey, I'm your buddy. I'm going to talk you through this." I can't do it like that. I need somebody who's going to be like, "What crack?" You know what I mean? I need to whip crack. That's
Absolutely.
What I need.
That's awesome. So you're 3 years into it now. You got that crack of the whip, and you just started killing it out there. And I see you out there. You're hustling. We've chatted about deals you're doing on. And next thing you know, you're a year into this, a year and a bit into this, and bam! I mean, this has kind of been a lot of the talks that we've had. Suddenly, we get slapped across the face with a pandemic that shuts things down. So, what did you do to adjust your business to accommodate the fact that we're in a changing world all of a sudden?
It's not, my situation isn't fair to measure that with, because two factors. Okay. One, I was still on that team where they were paying for the leads, tons of leads. So my shit didn't slow down one iota. Second, I am crunched in between Boston and New York City at the height of a pandemic. And everybody was fleeing Boston and New York City, to the point where now my Connecticut people get xenophobia and feel weird with New York license plates. They see New York, they're like, get out of my state, New Yorker, because there's so many fucking New Yorkers who are coming in and making a mass exodus out of New York. So I had an unfair advantage. Everybody else is like, oh, COVID messed things up. And I'm like, what? I was like, I couldn't stop. Like I couldn't sleep. My phone, I remember one day taking a shower, and there were 19 missed Zillow calls when I got out of the shower.
Oh my God.
19 missed calls from the time where I went into the shower and the time where I got out of the shower. And it was literally like 2 calls a minute. You know what I mean? I was like, holy shit. I was like, that can't be right. Is that from last night or something? And it was from that time.
Well, and here's always an interesting that I always find, and I love that you brought that up, that you were like, shit, this is just like, this went nuts for me. Some people, when crisis happens, there's a lot of people out there who panic, they freak out. And let's say you're in New York, that might have been your response. And just a happenstance where you happen to live, people were coming your direction. So for other people, it creates opportunities. And for you, you were able to see that opportunity, seize it, and be like, hell yeah, probably made the best year you've ever had.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, we're in a bit of a similar, because we operate just outside. Like, I do a lot of stuff in downtown Vancouver, but we also operate in the valley. So we saw an exodus from the downtown Vancouver area out into our valley where there's more land. But we also saw
the valley, Surrey.
Yeah, past Surrey. We're talking like Abbotsford, Chilliwack.
Abbotsford,
right? I'm sure you've been in those areas.
I know both.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I've heard you name like Nelson. I'm like, how the hell do you know Nelson?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But we also had the same thing, because people were starting to move from remote. I'm from Alberta, and yeah, they've got more land there, but it sucks to live in Alberta. Believe me, because I live there. And so we saw a ton of Alberta plates, like you were saying, coming out this way. All these prairie folk being like, well, if I can work from home, might as well live in a nice area. Right? We don't have to shovel snow during the winter. So we had the same thing, where all of a sudden in the valley, we were having kind of a lot of people coming from, Vancouver and Alberta kind of meeting in the middle. And our real estate market is obviously taken off like everywhere. I mean, we're dealing, and I know you are too, because we've talked about it, but we're dealing with that multiple offer craziness, people going in contingency free. And it's, for us in our market, it's not the first time. 16, 17, and part of 18, we had an extremely hot market, and it really only slowed down due to government intervention. But I know a lot of areas, haven't experienced this. So what have you been doing to shift your business during now all of a sudden the aftermath of the pandemic causing such a housing shortage in certain areas?
I feel like there's nothing you can really do without, maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but me personally, there isn't anything I can do differently. First of all, I'm more of a buyer's agent right now. I'm learning to become more of a listing agent. That's what my goal is that I'm working on right now. Right. Yeah. There's nothing that I can do without putting my clients in jeopardy more than I have already done for them. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to the point where putting in offers, making sure we don't waive inspections. If we do waive inspections, we're only waiving the portion of asking for remedies, but still maintaining our right to do the inspection and terminate if we find something that's not right. Okay. Right. A lot of people are waiving that too, which is a scary place to be. I just can't.
Happening in our market too. Yeah.
Right. People are waiving, all their mortgage contingencies and all of their appraisal and all of this stuff. And it's like, I have these conversations with my clients and I'm like, look, I'm going to do whatever you guys want me to do, but I'm here to protect you and I'm going to educate you what is going to be what. And, we, at the team that I'm on right now, we have adverse consequences form that we have people fill out if they start waiving shit like that, or if they want to, because we're going to say, yo, look, you can do whatever you want. We're here to help you, guide you through the process. But this is saying that you acknowledge the consequences of your actions. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, our market just put that same thing out. We just had we call it a subject-free acknowledgement form.
Right. Yeah, that's that same thing. Yeah. So, and it's like I'm very blessed to have awesome clients, and I have their back, and they're like, if a house is 400,000, they're like, look, we'll go up to 450, and that's even 400 is on the higher end of comps. We'll go up to 450. We're not going over that. And some of these houses the offers aren't getting accepted because probably they're going $75,000 over. And my clients are like, nah, we're good. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And I'm so happy they're like that, because here's the thing, for sure, I want to close on houses. I want to help them. But my main objective is to protect my clients, protect their down payment, protect their earnest money deposit. And, either fireworks or gunshots. I don't know. But to just protect my clients and make sure everything goes right. And I'm happy that I have clients who are very discerning and they're not jumping into things, because, man, I would feel really crappy, especially if it was like a young first-time home buyer and they're like, we're freaking out, man. We want to put $80,000 over and waive our inspections and all of this shit. Even after I had them sign the adverse consequences, I'd still be biting my nails, being like, man, I feel so bad. I don't want to fuck these people over.
Well, that's a good thing too, because there's a lot of agents who just don't have that empathy for the clients at the end of the day, right? And I'm the same way. Even when I do go through all the due diligence, there's every once in a while I'm like, man, I hope they like that house. Like, I hope nothing came up afterwards. And that's even before this market took off. So I think, that just goes to show that you truly do care about the clients that you work with. I think a lot of people, it's strictly transactional. Let's just pump these people through the process and make my money and move on.
I can't do it, man. I can't.
No.
And you know what, Cam? When I was signed to Atlantic Records, they waived a lot of money in my face. They waived the idea of fame and all of this stuff. And they were like, all you got to do is make pop hits. And I was like, I can't do it, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's against who you are.
There's more to life than money for me. So that's, and I apply that to real estate too.
No, I love that. I mean, at the end of the day too, what I have found by applying that mentality that, like, I'm here for my clients, it's a relationship and it's not ending at the end of the transaction, that's going to make me more money in the long run, because they're going to be so happy. They're going to send me their friends, right? My goal is that I'm going to be like that, or, it could be that song that somebody really likes, they're really resonating with, they want to share it with their friends, or that movie that someone went, they're like, I got to tell all my friends about it. I'm hoping that I've established a smooth enough process that it's the same way. They're like, man, if you want to sell, my guy Cameron has your back, right? I don't want to be the guy who's like, man, I use this realtor, and I think he only cared about the money,
And I hear that all the time, bro.
Oh, totally.
You know what? Here's the thing. All right, let's break it down to the basics of what real estate is. we live our life and work really hard, sacrifice time away from our kids, our loved ones, our hobbies, our life. We trade our time for work to save up a whole bunch of money to purchase a house, which is our biggest investment. So that's like saying you give me your life in my hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You give me your life in your hands. And it's like the same as a doctor. Do you want to go to a doctor who just pumps out patients because they want to make a shit ton of money and they're like, all right, get this guy out of here. I got the next person. So being that we have that large investment in our hands, I want to protect my clients like a doctor, because that's their life. That's the biggest investment of their life. So that's what that means to me. It's someone's life, the money and the time that they've sacrificed to accomplish this goal.
I completely agree. And in most cases, this one transaction is going to be their largest investment they've ever done in their entire life. I work with a lot of investors, which I know you know. So, I mean, I've got clients that are dropping, $300, $400, $500, $1 million here and there. But when I have that first-time home buyer, I look at these people as I'm like, listen, I am literally going to do the biggest transaction they've ever done. They might have dabbled in some stocks. They might have some crypto, but this is going to be the largest payment they've ever made on anything. And definitely need to protect that. We need to make sure that they're getting a good deal, they're happy, and that they can see themselves living here for, in a lot of cases, the new trend is 5 years, but hopefully, hey, maybe it could be their forever home. We never know, right? But at least we set them up on a position where even if it is only 5 years and then they got to upgrade due to family, whatever, that they've been happy in that 5 years. And we set them up to be able to, gain in that 5 years so they can trade up properly, right?
Right. Absolutely. Exactly, man.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's been an incredible time getting to chat with you. Like, it's almost nightly now on Clubhouse. And the one thing I see is big things from you, obviously. You've already proven yourself that you can make a career and you can make it big. You know what I mean? So I do see that happening with you on the real estate side of things. But I want to know from you, like, here's a quick question. Let's move 5 years into the future. Where do you see App as a realtor 5 years from now?
I want to be helping out people, as many people as I can. But the biggest thing that I think that I want to do is I want to use my voice and my energy of what I do to positively influence younger agents and people who are coming in and alter the industry. I want to get rid of the laziness. I want to get rid of the selfishness. Actually, switch those: selfishness first, laziness second.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I want to help inspire people to do better. And I think that's important. And I also want to educate the buyers and the sellers, so that way they know what to look for with those two issues. And I want to have both sides be held accountable, so the buyers and the sellers know going into it what they should look for. And I also want to eliminate all the stupid fucking myths that I hear from buyers and sellers, where they're like, well, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, you didn't go to school. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about just because you were talking with your buddy at the water cooler about what they did with their house. You can't.
And everyone's got their friends, uncles, pastor's dog that bought a real estate property once and knows how the transaction goes.
Right. Or here's the thing too. They'll be like, well, my nephew, Jason, just got into real estate and he said this. You probably put Jason on the spot and he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, and he had to bullshit his way out of that conversation. So you probably got wrong information. So anyway, my point is that my long-term goal is to inspire people to help out new agents, to help out buyers and sellers on a large scale. I think that it needs to become everything in life that has any type of impact is a popular movement. And I would like to inspire a popular movement of doing things in a proper way with real estate.
Man, well, you know what? Because obviously, I've been running a new agent room every week now on the Clubhouse app. 100%, I'm for that with you. And if there's any way that you and I can collab over the next 5 years on that and make it a reality, you got me in your back pocket.
1,000%, man.
I'm the same way. Unfortunately, the barrier to entry into this business is extremely low. It's a course.
Right.
Pass a test. You're now, in my opinion, you should be held to the standard of lawyers, accountants, doctors, like you said, right? And they go years and years to schooling. And yet we're doing these transactions for people that are so large. We need to hold ourselves accountable to that same standard. But I do find, because it's such a low barrier to entry, you do get a lot of the people who just don't really understand it. So 100%, I'm with you on that, educating agents and making sure that they know that this is a huge responsibility that they take on and that they need to act accordingly. So you can put me in on that in the next 5 years, man. Let's change that trajectory.
Dope. That's fire, man. Yeah, man. That's what we're doing, man. So I'm excited about that. I love that you do that. I got to go and I got to make it a point to be in your room every single time you have that room.
Well, we appreciate you having you in there, man. I mean, you've been dropping in once in a while, and you always bring that, that again, it's that accountability. You put people on the spot and show them that, no, this is how it has to be. And you're such a straight shooter, and that's what I love. Too many people, they kind of dance around issues, and you're like, no, this is what it's like, right? And I appreciate that, because 100%, that's what I've had from my mentorship. And I mean, I had about 17 years through the cadet program, and worked as an officer in the Navy through the cadet program. So for me, it was always that direct, since I was 12 years old, I had that direct, this is how it's got to get done. Do it this way. Right. Boom. And it's not this try to find your way through it. And for sure, some people need to find it and they need to explore, they need to experiment for themselves. There's also, you need that push, that accountability, 100%.
Right. Absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah, man. Okay. So of course, I appreciate your time, and I always want to make sure that I don't take too much for our people, but there's a couple things that I wanted to bring up before we wrap this up.
Sure.
And you tell me right off, like cut me off if need be, but I know you're working on a bit of a real estate anthem.
Yeah, man. It's the real estate anthem of all time. It's called Deals in Escrow, and it's about to be the anthem for realtors. It's about to be a mega anthem, the all-time incredible anthem for realtors. This is going to be like battle music that they're going to throw in on their cars when they're on their way to anything.
Get that listing appointment, they've got that blaring up the side.
Right. Yeah, we got Deals in Escrow.
Love it. I know the other night you had played a little bit of a teaser for us, and I'm like, bro, this is going to be sick.
I just put the hook on it today.
Man, I can't wait to hear it. So, I mean, keep that. If you guys are real estate professionals, keep an eye out for that, because honestly, like I said, we've been talking about it almost daily now. Like everyone's so excited. Real estate anthem's coming out. And that's kind of the wicked thing about, App. He's got that hip hop background still. He's still doing it. He's still pumping stuff out. He's in the studio. He's mixing it up. And he turns around and goes and closes the deal in escrow. Bang.
I just had a closing yesterday. Just yesterday, I closed on a house.
Boom. Love it. I know I had one two days ago. So
nice.
Boom. Love it.
The other thing that I'd like to say too is that there's this air of competition with realtors, and I think that we should collaborate and congratulate each other more. There's a local agent in my area, and I just drove past. She's very popular, and I just drove past this big sign of this 16 acres that she was selling in this town called Waterford, and underneath it said under contract. And I literally, like, my eyes widened. I was like, yes, that's fucking awesome. That is so dope. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it should be. I wanted to call her and tell her, like, yo, congratulations. That's incredible.
I'm the same way, at the end of the day. And that's, again, what I've really been loving about that app too, is it is becoming a very collaborative site. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the agents who resonate with that collaborative mentality, they're the ones jumping on this app. Because I got a lot of other guys who are like, why would I go on there and share my secrets? I'm like, great, don't then,
Right.
It is.
Right. Exactly. Don't share your secrets then. Yeah. So shout out to Marilyn Lusher in Waterford, Connecticut for getting those 16 acres under contract. She's got a big sign. I was so happy.
Good job, Marilyn. That's amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, once in a while, if I'm like showing a colleague's listing, I'll take a shot of their for sale sign, put on my, like, showing my buddy's property, whatever, it makes it, at the end of the day too, I do find that when I'm out on the showing tours and I know the agents, my clients respect that too. They're like, man, this guy's out there and he knows the agents, and I know it's going to be a smoother transaction because they work together. You know what I mean? Right. How to work with each other to get the deal done for both parties. So again, we're cooperating brokers. We got to collaborate at the end of the day.
Yep, exactly, man. That's it. And I've seen a lot of agents who, not a lot, I'm not gonna say. I've seen agents who have a very hostile energy. I don't like that, man. I like being cool with all the agents and showing respect and really celebrating what they do and having a smooth transaction. The agent that I just closed with, she's the sweetest agent, man. She was so awesome. They were so helpful. And it just went so smooth and stress-free for both sides. It was really great.
Makes a huge difference for all parties involved too.
Yeah.
This is one of the most stressful times for both the buyer and the seller. They're changing up their entire life with this purchase. So if it's not going smooth, and we can't guarantee every transaction will be smooth, but we do what we can, to make sure that happens. And we address those issues as they come up so that, and again, it starts from the two agents working together to make sure that happens versus being animostic with each other.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Last question I do have, I ask everyone that comes on the interview, because at the end of the day, the one thing that the most successful people always say is that they read books. They read a ton of books. And I always find that there's that one book that was super impactful for somebody. So I want to know, what is that one book that you would recommend that was very impactful on your life that you think someone else should read?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, easily. Like, for sure. Like, that hit me so hard when I read it. That's what, kind of set me on a different path. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was totally critical for me. And now I think my brother Robert Cole, I think he recommended to me The One Thing, which is I'm in the middle of that because Robert recommended that. So, but Rich Dad Poor Dad was fire.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while now, that book has come up many, many times. So you kind of see a trend. And it's not that you're going to learn how to make a ton of money. You're going to learn how to shift your mind. And you hear everyone say that. That is the turning point, what, you know, inspired them to start changing things up for themselves.
Right.
So, guys, honestly, I highly recommend reading the book. If you're like me, you know, I always mention it. I'm a big fan of Audible now because as agents, we're in the car all the time.
Right.
On Audible, and you can multitask that way. You know, listen to the book, but really absorb it because I know so many successful people that book inspired and they took off from it. So, you know, I appreciate that app. And even The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. That is a phenomenal book. I've read it twice now, and I've actually taken a lot of those concepts. And when I was still working with the cadet program, I would actually teach those concepts to the 12, 13, 14-year-olds I would coach and mentor, right? So, because it's phenomenal and there's just so much in there. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. That's not the point here. Pick up the book, listen to the book, whatever it is. There's 2 books right there from App that you guys should go check out. App, my brother, I truly do appreciate you spending time today. You're extremely busy. You've got a lot on the go, and yet you sat down, you chewed the fat with me here. We got some awesome conversation in. And honestly, I highly respect you, and I'm looking forward to just continuing to network and grow this relationship that we have together now.
Yeah, I love talking to you, man. I love chilling with you every night on Clubhouse and us building. It's so funny how Clubhouse, it's very different than chat rooms back in the day. It's different than everything. It's different than Facebook. You really get to know people and vibe with people's personality because it strips back everything, all the facade of pretty much everything other than, you know, talking to somebody. So I appreciate you so much, man. I thank you so much for having me on here and talking to me, bro.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Guys, I highly recommend you guys go check out App. We're going to link his socials below. Give him some love, show him some love, and make sure you guys go check out the new album. It is absolute fire. Keep an eye out for Deals in Escrow. So I'm stoked for that to come out. And I'm excited to see where his career goes. Thank you so much for listening in again. Don't forget, if you guys are getting a lot of value from this podcast, you're loving the interviews, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and throw us a review. If you love listening to App, I know he would love it. I love it. Give us a 5-star review on that. We appreciate it. And folks, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.